Okay, now it's time for the question and answer portion of today's talk. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask the speaker, raise your hand and we'll come around with a piece of paper and a pen, write it down, and I'll direct all the questions to the speaker myself. So, you jumped right into this really interesting topic. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself? What got you interested in math? How long have you been in Korea? Anything you'd like to share about your personal life?
I've been a math teacher for 10 years now. This is my fourth country, being in South Korea. I enjoy being a math teacher in South Korea because of the respect and ability I receive from Korean students. It's very nice, unparalleled compared to other places I've been to. I've been interested in game theory for 7 years now. I teach a summer course on game theory in the US for the past 7 years to gifted and talented youth from all over the world. And this is a presentation that I have made better, but I introduce students to this topic. It's often quite difficult for students to fully grasp this concept because the idea of the consequences of your actions is one of the last things to develop in your mind. And some adults, they still don't have it developed. So in order to get students to understand that what they're doing now affects a larger community many years from now is a hard topic.
So what aspects in your own life got you interested into this topic?
It makes sense.
Yeah?
To me, it makes sense, at least. That's enough for me.
Yeah, perfect. So you touched on a lot of different topics, a lot of examples. So these questions are
Well, a lot of examples, but they are all the same underlying main idea: short-term interest, individual, long-term interest.
Right, exactly. So you touched on Dunbar's number. The
Cognitive limit of the number of people you can keep up with. Yes.
Right. Okay. So you said that it doesn't exist anymore. It's slightly removed from society.
Yes, because we do not exist in communities of exclusively small numbers of people. With the numbers I presented, about half the people right now, more than half the people live in urban areas. And we're with different people interacting in different ways. It's very difficult to trust someone who you know only a short time in a day, rather than being in a community with that person and other people consistently.
That makes sense. Okay. Let's see. What is your philosophy on teaching? Actually, information about you. What's your philosophy on teaching?
I'm teaching.
Yeah, your general philosophy.
I'm a math teacher, so I have a little bit of freedom in the sense that I see numbers and patterns in the world, and I can explain a lot of things make sense to me. So when I teach students math, I'm imparting a tool upon which they can use to see the world as they see fit.
So you were talking about the men in China.
Yes.
Are there any historical examples of sex ratios like that? And what will all these men do? What happens then?
I do not know of historical examples of that happening. I'm sure they probably exist, maybe. I have a good history teacher here.
It's also happening in Korea as well, and this is the reason a lot of foreign brides are being brought in for Korean men. Let's say Southeast Asian brides are being brought in for Korean men because there are also too many men in Korea. It's a similar problem that they're having in China and India.
I think historically, and I'm not quoting any source, this is just from general knowledge, it's like, give me a strong male child. You know, you see that in movies, you read that in history books. I want a prince as my successor. So it seems like female feticide and infanticide has been going on for some time.
Not quite as large of a scale as
Not
it
quite
is
as large of a scale as it
currently.
is in China and India, but I would say it's probably not a new idea.
Yeah.
It's just more drastic now. And we can see this with our tools of statistics and census.
Right. So given human nature, do you think that humans need an alternative to urbanization?
I personally think so, yes. I don't think we are mentally capable of large societies.
What do you think a viable solution or viable replacement could look like?
I have no idea. a question for someone much smarter than me.
So back to some information about your background.
Mhm.
So what made you interested in math? How long have you enjoyed math? How long have you wanted to teach math?
Since a young age, I've always been interested in math. I've always been reasonably competent in math. So, it just kind of fit.
Perfect. Good, 'cause I am terrible at math, so it's good there are people like you that can do that. Do you think open immigration, like say among EU member states, undermines the welfare state?
That's a question beyond me. Say it again, sorry.
Okay. Let's see. Do you think that open immigration, say among like EU member states, undermines the welfare state?
Yeah, I wouldn't know where to begin with that. I did not keep up with that topic, I'm sorry.
Very in-depth talk. I think this is going to be one of our last questions. If you have questions, didn't get a chance to be asked a couple more questions. What is your interpretation of the 1% of the super rich?
I don't know any of them personally. So that's a very hard question to answer. Why can't you do more for others? How much do you need? How much do you really need? That's a good question.
And which is worse? Do you think the overpopulation of China or the 30 million males that will not end up reproducing?
The thing about China, though, is it's a large country physically, too. So when we say 1 billion people in China, there's a large area for them to live. I'm not saying it's sustainable, I'm not saying it's the right number, but I would imagine that Korea is more crowded than China. 50 million people in a much smaller place is more of a population issue than China. I would say, yeah, 30 million single men, that's an issue. Because what are these men going to do? It's literally what are they living for? And again, it's also related to social status and what risks are they going to take. Yeah, it remains to be seen. How is that going to affect them in the long run?
And this is going to be our last question for today. There's been a lot of interesting questions generated from this great talk. But with knowing this information about game theory and how cooperation impacts society, does this affect your outlook on life or your choices and decisions that you make in your day-to-day life?
Yes. I try to, well, going back to the elevator example, I always stand away from an elevator or metro door until people leave. I think that's a very simple one that many people can follow. I try to use public transportation. I try to limit what I eat. I'm more aware of that in the recent years. I try to be cooperative, try to help people whenever I can. And that goes back to reciprocity. When you do something good for someone, they're more likely to do something good for someone else. And that's a key to going in the right direction. People have to see good behavior in order to reproduce it.
Well, thank you for your fascinating talk.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your wonderful speech.
Thank you.
Now we have a small token of appreciation for you that will be presented by Dr. Shin Young-woo.
While listening to your talk about the trust, quite frequently when we give our trust, we can get more trust.
Yes.
As you mentioned right now, when we give away something from our hands, so reciprocity usually comes.
Mhm.
But when I gave you the question about one super rich.
Mhm.
They, when the world seems to be governed not by the people with goodwill,
Right.
but 1% of super rich
It's true.
who are greedy
Yes.
and then making the most of the goodwill of many other people, avoiding tax, while most people
Pay tax.
have to pay tax.
The poor people.
Poor people have to, the rich people avoid taxing.
Yes.
So, the game theory does not seem to be working here.
I don't understand that.
So, the people who are generating more goodwill and trust,
Mhm.
they do not seem to be
I
more
see.
influential
I see, yes.
than those who have the 99% of the rich
Right,
children.
I understand your question now. Okay. You want me to answer that?
Why don't you give me?
Okay.
How can we promote?
This is, it's a section of game theory, but it's also, it's related but unrelated, and it's just a theory again. In game theory, there's another topic called evolutionary stable strategies. And in a community, members take on personality types, so to speak. And what you'll have is doves. Doves are very peaceful. They will not fight for resources. You'll have bullies. Bullies will always be aggressive and go for a resource. And then you will have, hawks are aggressive. They will always go for a resource. Bullies are aggressive, but if they are attacked in return, they will shy away. But then there's another strategy called a retaliator. It's peaceful people who attack when provoked. And that's what we need more people of. People who are willing to fight for their cause. Most people are peaceful and they want to remain that way.
But we have to fight back.
We have to fight back. That's just me,
That's wonderful.
but that is an explanation for you.
Good, that's good. Thank you very much. Nice answer.
Thank you.
But in fact, I can give you one more information.
Okay.
GIC gets about 1/20 of the support from city government,
Mhm.
or 1/30 to other international centers in the other cities.
Mhm.
But we are operating more efficiently than they are. So they get about 20 times or 30 times as much as we get from the city government financially,
Right.
but their operation is not as effective as we are. So I want to show through GIC that to this kind of goodwill sharing can be effective
Yes,
in the society.
very much so.
So, and then you are contributing by giving the talk to us.
Thank
like
you.
this. So, letter of appreciation to Mr. Rohan Lewis. We'd like to thank you for your support to Kwangju citizens as a guest speaker to GI's talk on cooperation and competition.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rohan, for
Thank you.
your sharing your ideas. I hope you all enjoyed today's talk. Next Saturday, we skip GI's talk due to Kwangju International Day, a festival for all international people in Kwangju. This will be held in the parking lot of the World Cup Stadium and Lotte Mart from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. I hope you won't miss this interesting festival. The next GI's talk will be on November 2nd. After finishing this talk, there will be discussion group and also Jeonnam-do speakers and leaders club from 4:30. So if you want to participate, please remain here. Thank you for coming today. Thank you.